welcome everybody to our November Board of Education meeting, November 2nd, 2020. I'd like to call this meeting to order and have roll call, please.
Dunn.
Here.
Mullins.
Here.
Howell.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Wade.
Here. All right, if I can get everybody to join me for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let's do our Case Center Award.
I'll get us started. And we're going to give an award tonight to someone who is no stranger to awards, especially recently. Just so many great things that he's been involved in and been doing. And Sean Beard, who just go ahead and come on up here. And Sean has been recognized in several ways recently. Techie coach, he is. And one of the things I think that we're most proud of right now is that he, in all this time, of all the craziness that he's been involved in with just distance learning and all the curriculum pieces that we've had to overcome challenges with, that he has completed his superintendent certification. So, I mean, that's he's been sidetracked and all of that, and then just kept pressing through. So proud of you for that, and then obviously all of your work in the district, just making all the things happen that have happened in the last several months. Overcoming so much. I know Sherry has something she'll want to share regarding those things as well.
So I will say this, and this is not really meant to be funny, but true conversation. Kristen Arnold and I both have, look at him, he's really kind of dreading my comments, but truthfully, we both have at one point in time held the position that Sean has held as assistant superintendent. So I know I expressed to the board, this is going to come with a title change second semester because he's just amazing. But both of us were talking about kind of this journey we've been on since March. And we were so entirely thankful, truly, that it was Sean Beard to do that work, because if anybody truly was cut out to take care of business and do the things that needed to be done in regard to the implementation of technology and the whole COVID crazy, it was Sean Beard. And I can't say enough about the competency and dedication and just to our kids, our people, our teachers, everyone. So he deserves a lot of shout outs.
I think what you just said is better you than me.
That's exactly what I said.
I did hear a lot of that, actually.
That's what I would you want to say?
I agree. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I'm in the position I'm at, and I love my position, but I'm like, Sean, you done with it, you got it. So, and I know he's worked with Tina a ton, and really everything in this room, but I mean, Jay, that in order to pull that off and go with distance learning and get the teachers the tools and with that tech knowledge, it's been a better time. So,
Amazing.
We're smiling.
Thank you, guys.
Anything you want to say?
I'm just gonna be honest, none of this could have been possible without my boss,
You're here.
my wife.
Oh,
Years.
nice.
So, thank you, Bridget, for letting me do that.
Amazing.
Thank you, guys, that's all.
I'm gonna take this opportunity to use this thing because I get to recognize a couple of, I use the term superstars a lot, and that applies to the two ladies I'm talking about real quick. But more than superstars, I'm gonna call them heroes. Because these two ladies, they're definitely heroes to our children. They're heroes to our fellow employees. So I guess I'm gonna ask Lizzie Seekbill and Janelle Wright to come and join me at the front, please. These two ladies are, if you don't know, they're school nurses. And school nurses in a pandemic situation, they're probably the first school nurses at Sand Spring Schools that have witnessed a pandemic in the history of Sand Spring Schools. So you talk about having to write the book of what to do. It wasn't they could just go to anything and say, here's what it is, find the book, they had to write the book. And not only do they write the book, that they're living the book. And they are using that book to take care of our people every day. Ms. Durkee sends us a report, you may not know, you may know this, every week that shows the number of students and people in a building that are not in the building the last week. And the number is phenomenally low. And I put a lot of that into the things that we're doing, the plan that we put in place, the plan that you all authored, and the plan that you live. And so, man, we appreciate that so much. I promise you. I work in the healthcare environment. I see a lot of people that are ill. I will tell you, today at St. Francis Hospital, we have 1,200 beds at St. Francis Hospital. Today, there were 0 beds available for patients. There were 17 people waiting in the emergency room to get a bed in the hospital. We don't have that situation in Spring Schools. We got 2 young ladies that take care of Spring Schools. So we appreciate what you do. And so what we're doing is we're going to give you the Stand Not Pace There Award and a coin. And this coin, this came from Charles Page, and it says on the back of it, think right, and I promise you, we know that's what you're doing. Challenge minds, inspire hearts. And then you also get a certificate that says, this certificate is awarded to Lindsay and to Janelle for outstanding achievements and accomplishments in representing Sand Springs Public Schools and the community at large. Thank you all for what you do. You guys. And we will allow Ms. Durkee to add anything.
So
to
here's what I would say, if these 2 have earned their money in any given year, this one is the one, because these ladies worked all summer long, helping us devise a plan that would work. And there's not really a day that goes by that I don't talk to either one or both of them. And we had a pretty busy day today. So we started off the week, coming off of Halloween, and had some work to do, there's no doubt, and they are the epitome expertise. Lindsay's serving on a statewide committee even called Project Switch, I believe, really with a group of other nurses and PE teachers to provide some help, I guess, for some of our rural communities that may not have access to some expertise. And so these 2 women have been stellar in their approach to how we handle the day-to-day life with COVID at Sand Springs Public Schools. So hooray for them. They do.
The 3 W's for my people: wear your mask, wash your hands, watch your distance. I'm sure they live that all the time. So I'll let you guys share from me too.
Well, I mean, we definitely appreciate the recognition, but it was not just us. It was a team effort, and I mean, it's gone from, it's all across. Mike's here for maintenance and admin and teachers. I mean, everybody's had to step up. So it's certainly not just us, but we were happy to be involved in the process. So.
No, everything she said, we couldn't do it without everyone, so just thank you, and thank you for the recognition.
You're amazing people.
I gotta say, what is it? Like 4:30, 4:45, the day before we fall break. I think we were talking to Janelle, and George and I are like, and I feel like we got it. And, everybody's out, and we're like, what can we do? But, the team pulled together, and they're like on the phone, dealing with it, it's just amazing what they've done. And the communication. So, anyway,
Absolutely. All right.
Okay. Miss Whitney Sanders, would you please join me?
I think this was actually something that we would have done in the spring, but because of all the lovely COVID mess that we have, we're getting around to this now, which means it's not any less important. Okay, first of all, Miss Whitney Sanders was awarded the Sand Springs Public Schools Side Teacher of the Year Award at Limestone Technology Academy for the year 2019-2020. I get to talk a little bit because my girls go to Limestone, and she actually has the privilege of having my littlest little, and I don't know if you know, but Whitney teaches pre-K, so she has the littlest of the littles, and bless you for it, by the way. And my little is a little pistol. So she had her, and she was wonderful. She gave Georgia, my little, the best foundation, which is what a pre-K teacher does, and I can't thank her enough for that. So obviously very, very deserving. Then, which leads us to, she won the Sand Springs Public Schools District Teacher of the Year as well. I think a lot of people would not give pre-K teachers the gratitude, all the things that you truly, truly deserve. And I truly can't say enough. And obviously the district is super, super in awe of what you do. So thank you very much. Anything to say? No.
Okay, I do have one thing, because typically, this does happen, this is so off kilter as where our schedule typically is, but everything was canceled from the Hall of Fame banquet, which would allow a presentation of the pin, so we thought, I'm so sorry. Yes, very beautiful, we get free, very special ones. Anybody else? I do, yeah, I have to say, you guys are gonna wanna pipe up and talk for sure, but Whitney also, she's pretty humble, because what we didn't mention is she's also carrying the caseload of our pre-K virtual students this year. So one of them came back and is now, I think, attending in person. Whitney let us know that today. But then she also has a caseload, Whitney, of how many pre-Kers?
A little over 20.
A little over 20. So she's carrying her pre-K in-person class at our Early Childhood Education Center. And then outside of that time, she's also carrying another caseload of pretty much a full class from a virtual standpoint. So she's a pretty amazing person, and I think she still likes us, I think. So thank you. Thank you. Okay, so that does conclude our awards part of this, and we move on to more business parts. So everybody that would like to say goodbye for now, may. So moving on to number 5, there's really 2 pieces of data that we're going to share with you tonight. I'm going to start by talking about our internship, and then I'm going to shift to Sean Beers so that he can go through the ACT data. One of the things that I was, to be frank about, a little bit worried as we went into the new year with COVID is how our internship program would be perceived this year and how we were going to manage carrying that forward. If you'll remember, we started our internship program, and our goal was about 50% of our high school seniors last year land internships, and we ended the year with about 80%, so it was a highly successful endeavor. I had a short conversation with Michelle Spears when school started, and I said, how's it going? This worries me. And she said, I'm getting emails now from businesses that want to continue carrying an intern from Charles Page High School for the following year. So Ryan Vivian actually came up with data, which I'm sharing tonight. But basically, we have 106 students right now in the workforce preparation class. That's a class that is all about soft skills, how to complete a resume, how to conduct an interview, those kinds of things. But more than that, this semester, because I think we had such a great launch, We have 53 paid internships right now this semester at Charles Page High School, which is amazing. And 16 more internships that are unpaid. So honestly, when it's all said and done, in combination, there will not be quite 240 these numbers for next year, but in light of what's happening with just the masks and social distance and those 3 W's that Mr. Mullins was talking about, I am extremely proud of the effort of our team at Charles Page High School. So we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that success story, and then I'm going to shift to Sean to talk about our ACT data.
So, what you're looking at on the screen is just a rundown, and it's actually twofold. It's talk about our ACT data as well as our state testing changes that are going to be coming up, and at that point, I'm going to probably defer to Jay on some of those comments, and since he's the testing coordinator as well. But the results that you're seeing on the screen, this is
Somebody hand him a mic.
oh,
He thinks he talks
I don't
really
have that
loud.
feature.
He doesn't.
I don't project as well as I think I do.
There we go.
Better?
Yes.
Okay, so what you're looking at on the screen is a breakdown of our ACT composite scores by year. And when you look at these scores, the top score that you're seeing there, I know it's kind of hard to see, but the top score that you're seeing there, that range is for 2021. So we've already had some students that have tested within this year. And the mean score for those students is a 21.1 composite. But if you look back to the previous years, like 2019-20, it was a 20.8. And 2018-19 it was a 19.3. While we are seeing an increase, one thing that you do have to take into consideration is that in the 19-20 school year, we did not get to do a school-wide ACT test because state testing was canceled. So the numbers of students that tested that last spring, and for the school year are lower. But we are seeing a slight increase in the mean score, which is something that we're expecting to see. So, and keep in mind, this references any student that tested that year. So it could have been a 10th grade, 11th grade, or 12th grade student, or any student that graduated from Charles Page High School. And then by comparison, this is a breakdown of just seniors by class and composite score by graduation cohort. So starting at the left, you have 2015-16, and the blue, that would be us, and then the green is the state. And so like back in 2015-16, it was a 20.5. You get to 2016-17, it was a 19.0. And then right around 17-18, that was the year that the state started using ACT as the test of measure for high school students. So we saw a mean score that year of 19.1, and then 18-19 at 18.2. Now again, that is only seniors in that graduation cohort, not any student that just tested 10th, 11th, 12th grade or older. From there, though, when we dig deeper into looking into these scores, one of the things that we're really concerned with is their proficiency and their readiness for college and career. Specifically, when you look at ACT math readiness, we're seeing that our students in 17-18 and 18-19 met at a rate of a score of 26 math readiness for higher ed. But if you look at 19-20 last year, that jumped to 32. Again, there's a couple of reasons that score might have jumped so drastically, and again, part of it is because we didn't test school-wide that spring, but we still had about 164 students that tested that year. As far as college and career readiness, I know this is tiny, this is really hard to see, so I'll distribute this to the board after the meeting is over tonight if you'd like to see this more closely. But look over at the far right, and you're going to see a couple of arrows. You'll see a green arrow going up and a red arrow going down. And what this is this is a breakdown by composite score range for a 3-year period, 17-18, 18-19, and 19-20. And what this is meant to show you is that red band, the red arrow that's going down, that's showing that we're having fewer and fewer kids that are scoring in the 15 and below range. But when you get up into the 16 to 19 and the 20 to 23 range and on up to 36, we're seeing more and more students each school year scoring in those upper ranges, which is exactly what we want to see. We want to see that they're college and career ready. We want to see that they're math proficient, that they're scoring high in language arts and science as well. So that's something that we've been pleased about, that we're seeing that change that we're wanting to see year by year. And Mr. I didn't know if you want to comment on that before we start talking about testing.
No, I just think this is the time of the year where we share district-wide scores. And of course, since testing was waived last spring, we really don't have that data. What we do have are ACT scores that represent kids that chose to take it. So it's a little bit different, feels weird in reporting, but it's just a function of the spring testing window.
Yeah.
So I do want you to go in and talk about where we're at least to date, with how this spring might look like.
So, and that's kind of an indicator of what we were looking back on that previous slide. You know, as far as I'm concerned, any students that test on their own, test on their own volition, that's still a win. And we're still seeing an increase out of the 30 students that have tested this school year that we have reporting on. We are already seeing a gain in their composite score. So I think that's a trend that we're hoping to see continue next year and the year after. And one of the things that I'm going to talk about here with the state testing, actually I'm going to kind of skip to that in just a second, but we're doing a lot. We've implemented a couple of measures this year that we're hoping that will not only impact our face-to-face brick and mortar students as they score in these in each of these subject areas, but also our virtual students who are working in virtual academy. So I'm going to kind of save that for the end, if we don't mind, and is it okay to go ahead and transition to the testing? So, like I said, Jay Roder is our district testing coordinator, and he attended, along with a couple of other people from our district, a state testing board meeting, talking about some of the changes that are going to take place this year for spring testing. As with anything else that we've done this year, COVID has thrown us for a loop, throwing a wrench into the works. And so one thing that we are seeing, though, that the state is trying to do to help us out is knowing that we're going to have a lot of students that are virtual, knowing that it's going to be difficult to get those students in, and knowing that we may have students that are out for quarantine. They've given us an expanded testing window this spring. And so the window will actually start 2 weeks earlier. It will end 1 week later. And in the process, it's also going to provide 2 additional weeks of ACT testing. As far as expanded testing opportunities, we also have been given the green light that it's okay for districts to administer tests after school hours if necessary, or even on Saturdays if necessary. The one caveat to this entire process, though, is that because we did not test in the spring, it says limit to waiver, but really what this boiled down to is we're really not going to get waivers this year. And I'll let Jay expand on that. We're going to hand him the microphone, so. You're welcome, Tina.
Right. So basically what they told us is don't expect any type of waiver for assessments of any kind. Go forward under the current political situation. There will not be a waiver. That could all change tomorrow. But depending on with where we are right now, there is no waivers. Everybody who's applied for a waiver from other states have already been denied. Don't waste your time writing them because the USED will not approve them.
Jay, can you expand a little bit on the 95% rule because that's going to really impact us. Understand that we have 20% of our student population coming to us in a virtual platform.
Yeah, so the big part of that is going to be that 95% that has to test rule. And if you don't hit that, then that affects federal pieces of that Mrs. Burke can get into a little bit more. But if we have to hit that, then that's why that 3 extra weeks may become very important. Giving us that extra time after hours so parents can bring kids to the virtual academy because There's also no plan to put in place a way for them to test from home. So these kids are going to have to come to us to test. They're not going to be able to test sitting at their house. So a lot of them that were staying at home to stay away from everybody, we have to convince them to come up and see us at least for 1 or 2 nights in April and early May.
I think all of us across the state are a little bit jittery about the performance on our state testing. As you probably are aware, we came back and we did our benchmark assessment, our beginning of the year benchmark. We knew that we know there are some pretty tremendous learning gaps with kids across the board. And so we've had this discussion, TFASA too, about how is that going to look in the spring? What are the results going to be? And how can we communicate that out so people understand where we're at? Particularly with our elementary, what is our elementary count for virtual at this point?
Right around 270 kids.
So we're still running 270, down from just
Right,
over 300, I believe.
Yeah,
when we
just
started.
over 300.
So we had a few come back, but I think most people that have been in business long for a while will tell you that especially with our younger students, it's pretty hard to beat in-person instruction, which is why we're pretty adamant about keeping our doors open. So I think we're all a little jittery about that for sure, and kind of wait and see that it doesn't look like the waivers are going to happen as they did last spring. So Sean, did I steal your number?
No. It's all good. I'm very good. So, kind of alluding to what she said as well, there's several factors that are going to impact student performance when it comes to spring testing, and you can see these on the screen. I don't think that really have to paint a picture for each of these bullet points other than COVID is the longest lasting impact, whether it's kids with positive cases or quarantine issues. And going back to what Jay said with the limits to, not being able to have a waiver, one of the things that he did say to me in the meeting is that he heard them saying things like, if we're testing on Tuesday and a student doesn't show up on Tuesday, but then they go on quarantine on Wednesday, they're saying you should have been here on Tuesday because you need your source to test on Tuesday. On the other hand, if you were on quarantine on Tuesday and the school tested in your grade on Tuesday, then they're going to be forgiving for that because they know that there's no way that you could come to school and, because you would have been endangering the life or the health of other students. So that's the reason for the expanded testing window. That's the reason for the expanded testing hours. And I think that's something that we're really going to have to tap into, just as Mr. Roeder said. But in that regard, what are we doing to put a positive impact? How are we preparing our students? So a couple of things that we're working towards. Number one, we've had a strong PLC process that we've been working on for the past couple of years, and we're strengthening that process even more through our administrators and our PLC coordinators who are working to increase teacher collaboration. Just the team meetings that they're having at each grade level, at each subject level, are helping to have those deeper conversations about what do we need to do to make sure that we intervene and provide the skills to fill the gaps that we're seeing in our students that are possibly left over from the spring. In the fall, we had a fall exact path diagnostic window, which on top of everything else that we have coming in August every year, we started a week later, but we also have RSA law that requires us to provide a test for RSA, the Reading Sufficiency Act, but we also did an exact path diagnostic window, which, adding anything new to the school year is not popular, I know, but our teachers pulled through and they administered the diagnostic and it provided some feedback on where our students are in math and language arts. And we're now entering into a winter diagnostic window that started today that will run through March. And then we'll have another diagnostic window at the end of the year. And the purpose of that diagnostic is to diagnose where our students are, identify gaps that exist, and then in the meantime, between those windows, provide skills practice so that students can learn the skills that they need to fill the gaps and perform better on a daily rate, but also on the state exams in the spring. Along with exact math, we also are using IXL this year. Exact Math provides math and ELA skills practice, while IXL provides math, ELA, science, and social studies practice. So those are just a couple of changes that we made this year that we're hoping will help. But it's not always just about a tool, it's about our teachers. And I can tell you, our teachers are second to none when it comes to providing the instruction and the intervention that our kids are going to need. So is there, if you want to add to that?
Unless the board has questions about Sean's presentation. All right, looks like we're ready to move on. Sean, thank you. So, President, if I can move on to item number 6.
Yes, please.
Financial strategies is always fun to talk about on TV. But I will say, as you know, Morgan Florence provides a monthly rendition of the state of affairs with really all things finance. One of the things that you'll see is a positive report of state revenue for this month. But you also see Morgan Florence come right back and tell you we've had a delayed income tax due date. And so some of the positive you see with state revenue has to do with the fact that income tax from last year was collected now. And so it's a little bit bloated compared to what we feel like the projection will be for the rest of the year. So just understanding kind of that caveat and how to move forward with, being cautious about how we utilize our money and what we do. We do have, I actually didn't go to Angus. You knew that they were supposed to start groundbreaking this week at Angus, but I didn't go today. But I know some of you were at the groundbreaking ceremony. Thank you for coming last Friday. It was delayed a week, but that should start. If it did not today, it should start today. Mike said they're nodding, so it started today. So very excited about that project. That would conclude the 3 anchor projects that we issued in the current bond cycle. So pretty excited. It definitely doesn't come with a hard timeline, which was really stressful, honestly, with the Freshman Academy. So that should get well on its way pretty quickly. The Freshman Academy, we still have some punch list items that will need to be completed. As you know, you approved the cladding of the east wing. That work has yet to start. It should start fairly soon. You probably have noticed the sign that's being constructed in front of the building, and that will have an LED display for messaging for our public. And then, unfortunately, we had some vandalism. So if you drive by, really with the sunshine on the front of the black entry of the building, you'll see some damage. We've yet to catch the culprit. However, I will say we're starting to figure out a way to fix that area. I don't know, Jeannie, if you want to expand.
To minimize any vandalism, the ACM is a durable product, but it is metal and it is bendable. And we talked about putting some type of solid metal perforated or artistic metal grate up in front of it that could either be stainless or aluminum or even painted black and kind of blend in with the black. But it would give us also an area that needs to be signed with the forward.
And we're talking about our motto, so challenge minds, inspire hearts, with then maybe a logo. So, which was kind of captured in some of the original sketches in the beginning when we were thinking how we were going to design the front of the building. So it's not something that we have thought of before, but it's really been nice not to have to deal with vandalism to the front of the building. So, moving on. Baseball, softball grading projects, I believe Jean's going to give you an update. They are in progress. We had, it was a little bit of a headache, no doubt. The grading, as you know, which was originally we put that as a long project in the beginning, was off and had been for several years. The company has come out to finish, and so Jeannie, if you don't mind giving an update.
They're 100% complete on baseball, and the reason they're behind, which was really no fault of their own, we decided at the last minute we wanted them to condition the field, and then we decided at the last minute we wanted them to condition the field, and they got that done before they left the site.
And then they wanted, baseball coach and the AD wanted us to, top dress the field. And you don't do that until 3 weeks after. Well, we didn't let them know until they were done with the project. So they really worked very hard to schedule us in to get back out and get it top dressed so the coach could then, do his winter seeding. So baseball is 100% complete. I don't know if you heard, there was, they did a great job of grading. They took behind the, home plate down about 12 inches, so they minimized the amount of dirt that they had to bring in. And everything drained perfectly. I was out there after some rains this summer. And then we came in and put the sprinkler in, and we put the sod in, and we started holding water on the home plate. So, the company came back and they just, this, Saturday installed what they call a smile drain, and that's around the perimeter of the circle, and then took it out to third base to drain, and it's a perforated pipe that's down about 12 inches. So that is complete, and with that, then baseball is 100%. We've asked them to come back to softball because when they were done, one earlier rain, we had a low spot at first base, and then the next rain, I saw a low spot at second base. And this last rain we had, we kind of had a circle around all the bases. And Americans not so sure that it's not our grading that maybe we're dragging too deeply. So they want to come out and do a little bit of training for us. But that'll be done Saturday. And that should then complete that project. They had a little bit of blowing off of, they used kiln dried coarse sand, which was really interesting, but they couldn't put it directly on the field. They had to put it on the Bus Barnes parking lot to let it dry for 2 days or cool off. And that was kind of interesting. So now they're trying to get Mike's parking lot cleaned off, blown off. They've blown it off twice and it's still not quite done. But that'll be done this weekend.
Kind of like a project that just wouldn't quite end. And so it's been a long road. I think we're there. Definitely going to be monitoring it with more water coming in the winter to make sure that we're where we need to be. Coach Brown had actually gotten a quote for the possibility of putting turf on home plate, which would have also taken care of drainage. That's still on the table if we feel like that's not going to work, but we are going to be prepared for baseball season.
And just so you know, they will remove 8 inches of soil on the pitcher's mound and home plate and install concrete. And then this astroturf gets glued to the surface. So I was concerned about sliding, but I think some other fields are doing this and they feel comfortable that it's a safe process. And, we're looking at logos on that too. So.
Any questions about bond updates? We move on then to item number 7, communication. I've been saying the COVID effect now for about 8 months or 7 months. Our parent survey was put out during parent-teacher conferences. Truly, we did not get the participation that we wanted. So we're going to be pushing that out again to hopefully get more people to fill that out. I think it's a function of when I'm with the teacher virtually versus I'm coming into the building and the Chromebook is put in front of me and I'm saying, please fill this out. It's a little bit different to get follow through. So tried really hard to get some feedback from parents. It was pretty low, for sure, after parent-teacher conferences. The second part of communication, dialogue is set for next Tuesday at 7. We're going to have Mr. Sitten on board. We're going to be talking about winter sports and how we're going to do protocol for fans and such in an inside facility, which we're all a little nervous about. I do know Mr. Sitten's been meeting with other area directors for athletics to try to get on the same page so that we're all doing the same thing for protocol. So
let's just wrestle on the football field.
it wasn't free. That's
Second.
actually a bad idea.
Sure, is that tomorrow or next week?
Next week, yeah. I thought about tomorrow, 2 nights in a row, and so we just postponed for next week.
Night, everybody was.
Yeah. We're gonna try to do those once a month, truly September, not September, October got away from me and I take full credit for that. Just got busy. So next Tuesday, we're gonna try to do that once a month. It won't be the board meeting night like we typically have that one in person, but probably the Tuesday after each board meeting. So seems to be the, probably the hot topic of the month of November is what I'm thinking, so. Questions about community? Okay, moving on to item number 8, health and safety. I attached strategies for startup, probably unnecessarily. It is on the board agenda, or not the agenda, it is on the website. We discovered that the CDC guidance changed in regard to what's defined as close contact. I believe October 21st, 2020, and so Janelle, I think, scooted out, but we met alongside Kristen and revised our protocol. CDC went from a 15 straight minute, closer to 16 or 6 feet, close contact definition to a cumulative total of 15 minutes over a 24-hour period. So it's a little bit trickier than it was before. So that changed in the protocol, and that is posted on the website. And then again, part B of that is Mr. Sitton's been in collaboration with other area schools to develop protocol for basically fan attendance at indoor facilities for our 2 major winter sports, which is basketball and wrestling. Any questions?
I saw the news just now where one of our local school districts, neighbor school districts, will be out of school tomorrow because of keeping kids out sick. So thank you for what you're doing.
Well,
You talking about Dixie? No, they closed down because they don't have any buses.
bus drivers,
Bus drivers.
bus drivers are out.
Yeah, 7 bus drivers,
I just heard they out, the number of people out there.
just
Bus
7 bus drivers.
Bus drivers, if you get the kids to, and I have to tell you, we've done a really good job, keeping our cases down. Quarantines are not fun for anybody, I can promise you. I will say this, coming back from Labor Day, or in most current case, Halloween, which was a great time for the weekend, but coming back from that, you get families, people, friends together, and then you see a rise in the number of quarantines. So you'll see some higher numbers this week for sure, but for the most part, we've kept our doors open, and even at a 5% quarantine rate, we're still teaching 95% of our kids in person. So I think that's a celebration. Quite frankly, it's been hard. Our people are working. As you know, we had a quarantine with our admin staff at Charles Page High School this last week. JJ Smith is back today, yay. But I have to brag on Carrie Slagever, Jay Roeder, Rod Sitton, Sean Beard. Kristen and I were cut a little bit in now, but they have been trying to support our high school and freshman academy so that we had plenty of support admin-wise at the campus. So they did a great job. I think today they're a little tired, but overall it's going really well. So I'm proud of how our team is doing. Some questions? Okay. Consent agenda. So just a couple of items I want to bring to your attention. Number 14, this is different. We had our entire coaching staff help us. We paid a stipend, of course, but we're asking you to approve the stipend of $100 for each of those coaches because they literally spent a couple of nights moving the weight equipment from Charles Page High School to Clyde Boyd, restructuring the weight room there. And then I know that you probably recollect Peggy Wallace back in the, early winter semester last year with a donation of $60,000. We helped with that amount. I think we added about $20,000 to that project, and we're in the process of creating a really nice weight room with new equipment in the football stadium. So something to be very, very proud of. At some point, we'll have an open house, but that's happening right now. Our coaches are working really hard together to get that done. So that's a little unique and something you don't typically see. Item number 18, just always kind of bringing a retirement to your attention. We have one of our teachers in Garfield Student Academy will be retiring. I think second time around this one, was that correct? But yeah, effective December 2nd. So bring that to your attention. We have posted, I believe, for a paraprofessional that will help us with that vacancy. Item number 21, those are the board meeting dates for fiscal year 21. There was a change. Beth realized that July 5th is the actual holiday for July 4th, so we moved that board meeting to July 6th, which is Tuesday. So I wanted to bring that to your attention because we'll need to definitely file those sooner than later. So just know that's one change that we made this month. And I believe that is it, unless you have questions about other items on the consent agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any more questions? Okay, vote please.
Glenn? Mullen?
Aye.
Hubble?
Aye.
Wagner? Winters?
Aye. Okay, action items. Number 28, proposed executive session to meet and discuss employment recommendations. Okay, moving on to 29, proposed employment.
Make a motion, we approve item 29.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? Vote please.
Glenn?
Aye.
Mullen?
Aye.
Hubble?
Aye.
Wagner? Winters?
Aye. Number 30, discussion and possible board action in House 2021 annual school elections. So if you don't, I see them not in December on a board agenda coming up, and I'm just amazed. You guys realize it's week 11 of school. Who'd have thought? I mean, it really is going as quickly as most school years go, even in light of the craziness going on. But it's that time for board action for an annual school board election. And of course, the seat that becomes up for filing would be Ms. Wagner's seat. And the boundaries are described as Office 1. And of course, the boundary map is available on our website as well. So we would need a board action to pass an annual school election resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Vote please.
Yes.
Glenn?
Aye.
Mullen?
Aye.
Hubble?
Aye.
Wagner? Winters?
Aye. And number 31, all right, and that's our bond consultants, Stephen McDonald and Associates. You all will recognize the name Tom Fisher that is really works in close conjunction with our district. Keeps us straight in regard to the filings and such that we do for all of our bond work.
Make a motion, we approve item 31.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? A vote please.
Glenn?
Aye.
Mullen?
Aye.
Hubble?
Aye.
Wagner? Winters?
Aye. Okay, any announcements? No, yeah.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. A vote please.
Glenn?
Aye.
Mullen?
Aye.
Hubble?
Aye.
Wagner? Winters?
Aye.
We're 49 minutes though. I mean, it's a good, it's solid. It's a solid.
Solid. Solid.